Hey, John. Did you get a straw?
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay.
And if he ever, the little one starts crying, just bring it to me. Yeah, just bring it to me. If he does.
Thank you. That's going to be a fun sound on the radio. Check 1 2, check 1 2, check, check, check. All right, Harmony, we good to go? Did you grab 2 or 3, Coach? Go ahead and talk for me.
Hello. Hello, hello.
There we go.
Hello.
All right, can you hear Coach Harmony?
Hello, hello, hello. I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Uh-uh.
There we go. Better?
Yep.
All right, we're ready to roll. You said you found a sheet. The cart is Coach open, so we'll be ready at 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Wyatt.
Welcome to Wendy's here in downtown Coffeyville. It's the Red Raven Coaches Show. I'm Shay Neal, head coach Nick Dobler alongside with me. Coach, we're matching with the strawberry lemonades tonight.
Yeah, I had to change it up a little bit. I had to match you, except for not your shirt. I'm going to say that.
Yeah, no,
Cincinnati Bengals.
I was going to say I'm wearing a Bengals quarter zip, and that's not very popular in this neck of the woods. So, I know what I signed up for.
Threw your wrinkle right there at the beginning.
I was going to say Bengals and Chiefs, they got along fine until I moved out here.
Yeah.
And then now all of a sudden those two cats don't meow anymore.
No.
But we got a lot to get into here. We got 3 players here this week, offensive, defensive, and special teams player of the week. So we'll hear from a couple of your guys in just a little bit. But, Coach, let's go over the Cisco game really quickly. Victory for your guys. Something you had mentioned last week on the show was you're looking forward to seeing how your team responds to adversity, responds to the first kind of punch to the mouth that they saw this season. Not a much bigger punch to the mouth than a 75-yard touchdown on the first play of the game.
Yeah.
But I think after that, your defense settled in, corrected that mistake. Your offense looked strong. I thought it was an overall pretty quality team performance.
Yeah, that first strike, it was expected, but it was nice seeing people on the sideline obviously not panic. It was nice knowing the offense said, hey, we got this, let's go, and they drove right down and scored, and we jumped back in, or jumped up on them 24-6. So that was definitely a great response to the first play, not what you would want.
And if I'm allowed to ask, was that a blown coverage or
Yeah,
okay?
did they not really blown coverage. It was the eyes.
I gotcha.
Bad eyes of the back end.
I gotcha. I was gonna say when we were watching it on the stream, it seemed like there was supposed to be a safety there that wasn't, but
Yep.
I didn't want to draw any conclusions that I didn't know.
It was a great drawn-up play.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, for them to come out and try to take a shot is get the eyes somewhere else and then send somebody wide open down the middle.
Well, Coach, something that we talked about last week is, this team really allows you to have a lot of balance offensively. And again, another strong performance in terms of balance. 200 rushing yards on 54 carries, 186 yards through the air. You did not turn the ball over through the air. Did lose a fumble, but having a quarterback that makes smart decisions, having running backs that get you 4 or 5 yards a pop, it feels like these first 2 games of the year, it really allows you and Coach Ortiz to be really creative with this playbook and how this offense operates. And so far through 2 weeks, it's been a tough offense to slow down.
Yeah, it's been very exciting watching them work. I know they felt like there was a lot of points left on the board. Them having the ball, especially in the second half, they were hoping probably to do what they did in the first quarter, the way they were operating. But they were still just eating clock, time of possession, all that stuff, and still moving the ball and balance, very good balance attack.
No doubt about it. Joseph Vick ended up getting about 95% of the snaps in that game. Carson Crean did complete a pass late, but was that a case of Joseph was just the hot hand stick with him, or was that a decision by the coaching staff, more on a game basis?
I mean, the way the offense rolled in that first quarter, I think that's probably what it was. You just, hey, let's keep it going.
Right.
I think that happens a lot at all the positions, is go with the hot hand.
No doubt about it. Coach, we talked a little bit about the team's success running the football, and we have one of your 3 main running backs in here in Wendy's with us tonight. But something that I noticed, your team through 2 weeks, it's just 2 weeks, but leading the Jayhawk in third down conversion rate. You converted 52% of your third downs against Cisco, and I think a big part of that is running the ball well and having those short passing plays that set up 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, instead of those 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 9s that really make it a hard conversion. So obviously this team running the football great for any down, but it's also making it easier to convert on those key third downs, which will help a lot as we move into conference play starting this week.
Yes, 3rd and short is what you would really like to do, and if you have that run attack, and you feed those guys the ball, Steven and Trey have been pretty dang good. And the nice part is we'll probably be seeing a little bit more of DeAndre Kelly too, when need to be. Those two, we rushed for over 50-something rushes that game. That was an impressive stat for me when the run game, knowing that, hey, we actually did run it over 50 times. Like, that's a lot.
Well, and 50-plus rushes, still averaging 4 yards a carry.
Yes.
And I think that, that's going to, even I don't care if it's Hutchinson, Garden City, whoever is on the other side of the line as you, 3/4 quarters of that's going to wear a defense out.
And some of that's explosive runs, too. If you look at it and look at some of the touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, or a big play that we broke, that helps your yards per carry, too. So we got some backs that can be explosive.
Absolutely. Not saying that Trey or DeAndre haven't been, those big play guys, but another just big play running, a rushing touchdown for Steven Robinson. He's really kind of emerged as that explosive threat in this offense. Had the 63-yard touchdown on the first play of the season.
Yep.
Had a 47-yard touchdown against Cisco this week. Also had another 25-yard run at some point in that first half. But what is it about, obviously you have to have good vision as a ball carrier, but what is it about Trey, Steven, and DeAndre where they can get the ball, make a man miss, and it feels like all of a sudden a 4-yard gain becomes a 40-yard gain?
Speed for one. That's the thing is if you, it's always, and offensively you're always trying to get one guy on the running back. Running back makes somebody miss, He makes that one person miss, well, there you go. There's an explosive play. And so I think that's a little bit obviously with the O-line and the tight ends and the run game is they're blocking their guys and the running backs are able to make that one guy miss, and there it goes.
Well, one of my favorite football quotes, Coach, is from Walter Payton, where he would tell his offensive linemen to go get the 2nd and 3rd level guys because I'll make the first guy miss.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to not block the first level guy.
I don't know if that's a coaching decision.
I don't think that's great coaching, but it definitely makes sense that we're going to make somebody miss.
Absolutely.
And if somebody does come free, to be able to make that miss, to not make it a negative play and still gain positive yards, I think that's what our backs do well, too.
No doubt about it. We're here live on US 98, the home for Red Raven Sports. We're also live tonight on the Red Raven Sports Network. Appreciate Blaine for being here, helping us be set up on RRSN tonight. Coach, as we put a bow on this Cisco recap, if you will. We'll talk to the man who kicked it here in just a moment, but school history as Rowan McCarthy tied a school record with a 57-yard field goal in that third quarter. Now, I'm excited to get Rowan's thoughts on that, the trust that you guys have in him to even try that kick, let alone make it. But what a weapon to have a guy that you can send out there for a 52, 55, 57-yard kick and feel confident that he's going to hit it.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I was part of the last Forrest Taylor. He's the one that kicked a really big, long one. That maybe is that who he tied?
Yes.
Was that the tie? Yeah. I got to witness that, and then I got to witness Rowan do it this last game. And I had, knowing pregame, that's kind of what it was. And we knew he has a leg. We've seen it in practice. We see him in a scrimmage, did it. We have built confidence, him doing that. But watching pregame where he was, I mean, I had 100% confidence in him. Like, hey, we're doing this. I think other people might be like, oh, we're going. It's kind of a long kick, especially at, junior college. But for me, it was 100% confidence that he would drill it through.
And, Coach, as we put a bow on this first segment here, your team was up 30-19 late in that game, and Kyler Christmas ends up with a pick six to really kind of seal it. Kyler's really kind of had a knack for those big moments. He had the fumble return for a touchdown against Hutchinson last year, had a big interception against Ellsworth. It seems like Kyler is a really good coverage corner for you guys as well, of course, but seems like when a big play needs to be made, he's one of those guys that always seems to be around the ball.
That's a good thing to have. I like having football players that have a knack around the ball. The ball finds them, if you want to say it, or they find the ball. And you don't know. I don't know how to express it, but there's some that the ball always is around them, and they do find that. Like, it's not really coached. We talk about it, but certain guys have that knack for it. Bishop Fitzgerald was another one that was, player of the year for us. Just a knack.
No doubt about it. We, of course, have a big matchup coming up this weekend with Garden City. We'll talk about that with Coach here coming up in about 10 minutes or so. But coming up after the break, we're going to be joined by the Players of the Week for the Ravens. Coach, why don't you let us know who's coming up next?
Running back Trey Jones. He was Offensive Player of the Week. Obviously, he did really well and led the rushing for the backs and all that this past week, over 100 yards, I believe. And then Special Teams Player of the Week, which was back-to-back, Rowan McCarthy. So we need to get him here and get him on the air and let be able to talk to him. And
absolutely.
He's been doing pretty well.
And Mr. Defensive Player of the Week, we're going to have come back with you to talk about Garden at the end of the show, because Garden's got a good offensive line and a good offense, and I think what better way to talk about it than with one of the D linemen.
Correct. Yep.
So let's take a 2-minute timeout. Red Raven Coaches Show here on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. We'll be joined by Trey Jones and Rowan McCarthy when we come back here on US 98 and RRSN. Show here live from Wendy's in downtown Coffeyville, US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. We're now joined by the Offensive Player of the Week for the Ravens, On US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. I'm Shay Neal. We are joined now by the Offensive Player of the Week, Trey Jones, and the Special Teams Player of the Week, Rowan McCarthy. And guys, thanks so much for being here. Congrats on the win. Obviously 2-0, a good place to be to start the season.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll start with Trey. Your team, 54 carries, 200 yards. You ended up with 107 of those yards. But, you know, we talked to you a little bit before the season opener about the talent in that running back room. And now we've seen it in 2 games. You have some big runs. Steve and Robinson have some big runs. DeAndre Kelly come in and give some good runs when he's been asked to. We've even had another guy or 2 thrown into that mix as well. It has to make you feel good that, you know, you can go into any game day, it feels like, and know that you got 3, 4, 5 dudes that when they get the ball, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. I'll say it all start with our coaches believing in us and our O-line just doing their job.
Absolutely, and you know, you go into a matchup with Garden City this weekend, and Garden City, of course, a tough team. They've given Coffeyville some problems in the last couple of years, and you know that from the game last year. But what do you see early on in film and early on in getting prepared for this game this week that you and the other running backs are going to look to take advantage of on Saturday night?
It's going to be a dog fight. It's going to be a challenge.
Absolutely it is. And Garden City, of course, a team that they've had 2 very different games to start the season. In week 1, they came out and looked kind of flat, especially offensively, but they were playing a ranked Navarro team, of course. And then week 2, they came back and looked like maybe the best team in the Jayhawks. So obviously, I know you guys are preparing for the Garden that entered the season top 10 in the nation. But you have to see, when you look at the film, it has to be kind of an interesting team where they do have some veteran leadership, but at the same time, you know, there's been a little bit of inconsistency so far, which maybe you can take advantage of on each side of the ball.
Yeah. We just go in there and just try to give them my all, make sure my O-line doing their job, make sure my team just competing, doing this all.
And Trey, I'm glad you mentioned the O-line because a good running back is only as good as his O-lineman. So your guys have been doing a great job of giving you some space to run, giving the other guys some space to run, even protecting the quarterback as well. I believe only 3 sacks given up in the first 2 weeks of the season. So what can you say about the big guys in front of you that block for you and how they set you up, and you and the other guys up for success?
They come every day, each and every day, ready to work, ready to compete and giving it all, risking their body on the line for us. We guys look good.
Let's move on to talking to Special Teams Player of the Week, Rowan McCarthy. Rowan, a 57-yard field goal ties a school record, and of course you also contributed 13 total points in that game with 4 extra points, 3 field goals. You have not missed a kick yet this season, knock on wood. Hopefully that's not jinxing anything. Yeah. But has to feel good for you. I talked about it with Coach Dober a little bit, but middle of the 3rd quarter, it wasn't, you know, the end of a half or the end of a game, and it was kind of a forced decision. They send you out there to try a 57-yard field goal. You drill it, you tie a school record. Talk about what it means to you to have that trust from the coaching staff, where they don't hesitate to send you out there for what would be a really long kick for 98% of kickers.
Well, I mean, it feels great to know that, you know, your coaches trust in you and that they're comfortable to ask you if you can make the kick and, like, if you want to go try it and, like, not just making that decision themselves, you know, and, like, it just feels good. And I wasn't exactly expecting him to send me out
there. Get the call there?
Yeah, but he just looked at me. He was like, you make it? I was like, yeah, let's go try it.
I think, you know, you're a modest guy, but I think you might have had 2-3 yards to spare on that. I mean, we might have been talking like there was a chance from 60 on that one. So I think, you know, obviously we've talked about it in years past, especially in the Jayhawk Conference. So many of these games come down to one score, come down to that kick or that big play late in the 4th quarter. And it's a huge weapon to have a guy that can, you know, hit kicks from 50 plus, and it's not a guarantee at every school in this league. So obviously it has to be exciting for you to have that opportunity to, you know, there's going to be times this year where, you know, you and your unit on special teams are really going to have a chance to decide a game or 2 here this year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I think, so I guess it's different coming from a specialist, but I think a team is really only as good as its special teams. Kind of like how you said, with the running back is only as good as his own line. I mean, without special teams, you're kind of just, you know, a dead duck in the water, and you're not gonna get along too well.
No doubt about it. Rowan McCarthy joining us here on the Coaches Show. Rowan, I talked about, like you said, the O-line helping out the running backs, getting some space and getting off to a great start this season. Now, from a kicker's perspective, tell us how important it is to have a holder that you trust and a holder that's gonna, that's gonna do the job for you. Because let alone a 57-yard kick, you're not hitting a 27-yard kick if you don't have a good holder.
Yep. Man, I gotta give a shout out to my boy Brady, my holder. He's been doing a great job for me this year, both practice and on the field. Yeah, it's great to be confident, and it definitely helps a lot. Senior year of high school, I was stuck in a rough spot with that, and I wasn't very confident, and I ended up not having a great season. But it definitely helps with my performance in game.
No doubt about it. And Trey, we'll have the last question for you because I'm curious. Obviously, Coach Dover doesn't like it, and I'm sure you don't like it either when we bring up last season. But last year, of course, you started the year with back-to-back tough losses to Highland and Dodge. This year, 2-0 going into the conference opener against Garden City on Saturday night. It's going to be Skip Foster Appreciation Day, big game under the lights, home opener. And a game that really, this program's kind of reignited here to start the season. For you as a returner and for some of the other returners on this team, has to be, exciting for you and fire you up to be in a position now where a Saturday night game in the Ville is going to be a big deal again.
Yeah, I'll say the returners, we're just trying to get the guys that wasn't here last year ready for the moments and just trying to go out there and compete and give it all and end up with the victory.
Well, we appreciate you guys both for joining us. We'll take a 90-second break here on the Red Raven Coaches Show. When we come back, we'll hear from Coach Delboy. We'll hear from Defensive Player of the Week as we get ready for Garden City coming up on Saturday night. We're back in 90 seconds here on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. Wendy's on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. I'm Shay Neal, and we'll have Coach Dope. Excuse me. My goodness, that strawberry lemonade just got me caught up there for a second. But we're joined now by Coach Dover as well as the Defensive Player of the Week, DJ Jackson. And this worked out perfectly where, unfortunately, guys, I only brought 3 headsets, so we couldn't get all 3 guys on at the same time. But with Garden coming up this weekend, Garden's got a strong offense, as you know, Coach. What better way to start talking about them with one of the starters on your D-line?
Yes, we're going to need big things from him and the other D-linemen this week to stop their big rushing attack.
Absolutely. Let's get started with talking about that Garden rushing attack, and it starts with their quarterback, Coach. Tyler Nelson, a sophomore transfer. He's a dual threat in this conference, of course. He's capable of making plays with his arm, but he is a huge force with his feet, averaging 117 yards a game on the ground through the first 2 games of the year. So what have you and Coach Eldridge and this defense worked on early in the week, getting ready for Garden and trying to make him as one-dimensional as possible?
Yes, I mean, it's hard because they do some good things. Majority of the time it's going to be, run game with the running back, normal stuff, but then you got the wrinkles where they're going to add a little quarterback run game or he might pull it if we're undisciplined. And then in the pass game, there's always that when you got drop back and he can scramble a little bit. So we got to not just key in on him, just in general, we got to key in on our assignments, and everyone does their job, we'll be all right.
DJ, we appreciate you being here. Something that has really been impressive about the Ravens so far this year is just the different guys that get involved on the defense in the front 7 especially. not just getting to the quarterback, but also stopping the run and filling the gaps. And I'm sure Coach would agree with me, but this Garden City offensive line has been very strong to start the season. They've only allowed 1 sack in 2 games. So what are you, along with your teammates, doing to try to create some pressure and try to create some looks that maybe they haven't seen yet this year?
We just try to come up with some schemes and show them different things they haven't seen yet, and yeah.
And is that, I know that when I talked to Coach Eldridge, he's a pretty aggressive guy. He told me after the Wesleyan game that he's not going to be afraid to send you guys on a blitz.
Right.
And what kind of pride do you take in that? I know on the D-line, maybe, you guys are going after the quarterback every single play, so maybe it doesn't impact you a ton. But to have a coaching staff that believes in your guys' ability to the point where let's send 5, 6, even 7 guys after the quarterback and really try to put them in an uncomfortable situation on a 3rd down. Obviously, you got to have good defensive backs to do that, but you also got to have a good front 7 that can get back there. So it has to make you feel good that they have that kind of trust to send the house on some key plays.
Yeah, that made me feel good, I ain't gonna lie. They do.
Coach, something that I think Garden and you so far this year have in common is strong run defense and really good at running the football. Garden averaging 260 yards a game on the ground, only giving up 65 yards a game on the ground. Your team giving up negative 12 yards a game on the ground, which is pretty ridiculous through 2 games, but also running the ball very effectively. So this is going to be a battle, of course, of 2 very physical teams that like to run the football, and it's going to be a test of which defense really steps up, because that could be what decides this one, which defense does a better job of making the opposing rushing attack uncomfortable.
Yes, I mean, one, you hit it on the nail as far as why we are 2-0 is, we're rushing the ball very well and we're stopping the run. To have negative 12 total yards, I mean, it's pretty impressive, but it's only through 2 games. Now, when you talk about Garden and how this all works in the run game and stop and run defensively, I think that's just Jayhawk Conference football. Like, now that we're getting into some of that, like, that's just what you have to do. There's really good defenses here in this conference that are going to stop the run. There's teams that, they're going to run the football, and if they can do it, I mean, it's going to be a long day. So it's Jayhawk Conference football, first game of the year. We got to get after it.
No doubt about it. DJ, I'm curious your thoughts on this. Obviously, Tyler Nelson, a really talented player. Every quarterback in the Jayhawk is a talented player. You don't become a starting quarterback in the Jayhawk without being pretty good at football.
Right.
But what are some things that you've picked up on in your football career when you're rushing a quarterback, where you're going after a quarterback? What signs, what kind of traits do you look for where maybe the quarterback's a little rattled, maybe you can see that he's kind of out of sync a little bit? Are there things you can see on the field from the QB, just kind of in his body movement and his gestures, where you can kind of tell if he's locked in or if he's kind of starting to feel that pressure a little bit?
Sometimes you can, but sometimes you really can't tell until you actually get back there.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't see you, so I really can't tell.
And I'm sure one of the traits of a good quarterback is being able to hide that, and not let the defense see that you're under pressure a little bit. But it's something that you and the defensive line have been able to do so well so far this year, is really limit those 3-4 route concepts where by the time they get through their first or second read, somebody's in the backfield.
Right.
And so, I mean, Garden's got a lot of speed at the wide receiver position. That's something that they really emphasized. But they're going to have to really kind of, I think, emphasize the short and intermediate routes because, you guys, for the most part this year, have been getting in the backfield in 3.5 seconds. And they're not going to have time for those deep post routes, those deep streaks, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Is that an emphasis that the D-line's been focusing on, is really kind of speeding up the quarterback?
Definitely. Trying to get the QB to throw it or just run. We could just take the sack. But most of the majority.
No doubt about it. Coach, as we get ready for this game on Saturday night, of course, Kiyoshi Harris in his first season as head coach at Garden, new to the Bronc Busters, not new to the Jayhawk Conference, plenty of time at ICC as well. What have you kind of picked up on in your matchups with Coach Harris, and what do you anticipate him bringing this time around here on Saturday night?
I'm trying to remember if I actually even faced him. I know who he is.
I thought he was at Indy in 2021, so I thought maybe you had faced him.
That was Coach Martin.
Was it?
Now, the spring might have been. That's why I think the spring was the first time. Like I said, I was trying to go back. I mean, it's been a while. He's been out, but yes, he's back, and he's well respected. He did good things at Independence, and the O-line represents him well. He was the run game guy, and that's why they're able to run the football. So, definitely have a lot of respect towards him.
And, Coach, we talked about it a little bit last week, but we'll end the show the same way this week. Obviously, the number one objective is go out there on Saturday night, do what it takes to get out of there with a win, be 3-0. But with that being said, if you could pick 3-4 things that your team executes on all three phases to have a really successful Saturday night. What are some things that you and the other coaches are really looking for from your team over these 60 minutes on Saturday night?
Execution is the big thing that you preach every week. You got to execute. If you can line up, know your assignment, and execute the play, you got a chance. Obviously, the turnovers, you always, no matter what level and what game you play, if you can win the turnover margin, you're going to have a chance to win game. And penalties, self-inflicted wounds. I thought we did still a little bit way too much on that versus Cisco this last game, and ultimately kind of cost us in a lot of situations to ultimately, do what we need to do to be better on the score in certain situations. But versus a good opponent, you can't give stuff away. So if we don't give the game away, whether it's turnovers or penalties or self-inflicted stuff, we definitely have a chance to come out of the game with a win.
Absolutely, Coach. I was wrong. I do have one more thing to ask you. Of course, Saturday is going to be Skip Foster Appreciation Day, as we have Coach going on dad duty here for just a sec. There we go. But, of course, Saturday night going to be Skip Foster Appreciation Day, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Here we go. I'd love to hear your thoughts just really quickly on, what Skip Foster means to this program and what a night like this is going to mean to you as a coach for the Red Ravens.
No, I mean, it is a huge night, and I can't stress enough. I've told my team, a lot how much this means for Red Raven Nation, not just because it's the first home game, but also for Coach Foster. He meant a lot to not just the town and the program and everything, but as far as me being here and knowing the type, I got to meet him a couple times, and a lot of respect towards him and what he did. I mean, he was a 1990 national championship, head coach, one of 3 of Coffeyville football, and had a lot of wins, and not just even had played. He played here. He was All-American. So, yes, that's just Coffeyville tradition right there at its finest, and we got to go get a win for him in Red Raven Nation.
I'll tell you what, we talked to the offensive, defensive, and special teams player of the week. We might have just had the brother of the week right there. He came in and saved the day.
Yeah, hey, baby starts crying, he knows what to do. Hand him a toy and get him happy.
Look at that. How about that? We appreciate Wendy's for having us, as always. We appreciate Trey, Rowan, and DJ for joining us here tonight. We appreciate Coach, as always. Red Ravens, Garden City Broncbusters coming up Saturday night right here on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. We'll have pregame beginning at 6:30. We'll have kickoff at 7. And here's hoping we are here 1 week from today talking about a 3-0 Ravens team getting ready for Butler.
Yes, can't wait to see Red Raven Nation in full blast Saturday night up at Veteran Memorial Stadium.
Well, thanks for joining us. We'll be back in action on Saturday night when the Ravens take on the Broncbusters. Until next time, I'm Shane Neal saying so long from Wendy's here on the home for Red Raven Sports, US 98. Let's get back to the music.